Hello, everyone, and I'm Christina Giordano, the founder of Sold, that is SOUL''D, and it's your go-to resource for soulful entrepreneurship. And my philosophy is this: people can no longer be sold to, they must be sold to. This is truly selling with soul. This is marketing with integrity, where you no longer need to compromise your authenticity, your boundaries, your uniqueness, your wholeness. This is messaging in a way that actually reflects the transformation you provide because it's your story, your transformation, and nobody can compete with that. This is monetizing yourself in a way that honors your fullness, all of the pieces and parts of you that are meant to be divinely resourced. Join me every Wednesday to learn all of this and more. Let's jump right in. In this episode, I'm going to talk about sharing your hero's journey and how that is a game changer. Now, I have an obsession with storytelling, and one of my favorite kinds of stories is the hero's journey. And today we're going to dive into why it's so important. Now, from a storyline perspective, the hero's journey is separated into three acts. Think about your favorite movies and books. If they are reflective of the hero's journey, then they follow a specific framework, and we're going to go through each one. The first is Act One, and this is the start of the hero's journey. This is where the main character is called into a journey. Somehow they received a sign or a message or a task at hand that must be achieved. This doesn't have to be told to them or sent to them. Oftentimes it comes from within them. It's a calling that they hear within themselves and they know they have to answer it. So Act One is also where the rules of the world are established. So where they live, what they are capable of, their social standing, their families and friends are all made apparent. Their situation and circumstances are essentially defined. And at the very end of this act, something challenging happens. And this challenge is usually an obstacle of some sort, or perhaps it is itself a journey or process that the character must endure. And the main character, of course, always accepts the challenge. Now, Act Two is challenging for the main character. It represents the time frame in which they look for every comfortable way to solve the problem they are facing. Whatever obstacle they must overcome or struggle they must endure, the main character will look for every possible way that they can get to where they want to be without risking it all. And this can take a very long time. This part of the story is often called day two or the messy middle because it is the point of no return. You've committed to the calling, you've embarked on your journey, you can't turn back. And no matter what you're trying to do to get to the other side, it's going to take everything you have. It's incredibly uncomfortable to let yourself get outside of your comfort zone. Trust me, I know. But eventually and inevitably, the main character comes to a point, which is usually the lowest point of the story, and realizes, I must be vulnerable in order to solve the problem. Now, Act Three is the mountaintop of the hero's journey. This is where the main character learns the lessons and proves that they have through their actions. So, this is essentially where they are brave. They demonstrate courage and faith and the knowing that they will succeed. They are aware of exactly what they have to do in order to excel and reach their desired goal, and they do it wholeheartedly and fearlessly. They are conquering their deepest fears and taking complete ownership of their calling. They've accepted themselves and their abilities, and they are fulfilling their potential. So, knowing this, Act One, Act Two, and Act Three, have you ever thought about your hero's journey? You are the hero of your own life, and there is a story there. It begins with a calling into the journey, then moves into all the ways that you tried to solve the problem while playing it safe. And someone once said, your greatest life is on the other side of fear. So, what would you do if you weren't afraid? Who could you be? What can you achieve in this life? Now, identifying this journey is the first part of this process of sharing your hero's journey. The second step is sharing it. So, sharing your journey can be a great source of fear, particularly if your story exposes you in some way, which is why it requires vulnerability. However, this is what changes lives. Humans remember stories more than anything, and these are the stories that uplift, inspire, and resonate so deeply within us. I mean, buyer consciousness has evolved, but people haven't changed. The essence of buyer consciousness hasn't changed. People still buy from people. They align with stories that align with them. These are the people who you are meant to serve, the ones who relate to you and therefore want to work with you. So truly think about how you can impact another just by sharing your hero's journey. Often, our soul work here is connected to our story in some way. So think about the ways you can make an impact in just sharing your story. Now, one of the most frequently asked questions I get is how and where do you share your story, like specifically? And the answer is everywhere. In every opportunity you have and in every space that's available to you, people should know and understand your story more than anything. Share your story on your website, in social media, in your email marketing, and your content. Share your story when you're featured in blogs and articles and on podcasts. The point is to share it proudly and to share it often. You want to be memorable with your story. So share your story so much that it becomes your badge of honor, because it is. You are a hero to yourself and to so many others. How can you lead the way for them? What could possibly be better than looking at someone who was once in your shoes, knowing that just by sharing your story, you helped them become happier or greater or closer to the person that they want to become? Your story can define who you are, what you stand for, and the legacy that you're leaving behind. At the end of your life, how wonderful would it feel to know that you gave it all, that you shared it all, and that you impacted so many because of that? This is truly how you build a business that is led by your soul. It's honoring the movement of it. And it starts by acknowledging your own hero's journey and then sharing it. If you want to build a profitable and meaningful business, it starts with this step. It starts with sharing this story. It starts with sharing the meaning behind the message. Now, if you want to dive deeper into this in an upcoming workshop with me, you're going to map out your beautiful hero's journey. I talked about this in the last episode, but on Tuesday, May 21st from 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. at Tribe in Chicago, we're going to draft our own hero's journeys in the Act 1, Act 2, Act 3 framework so that you can sell with your soul leading the way. This is step one of this whole process. So the neat thing is when you do your hero's journey, when you figure out what happens throughout Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3, you can always get to a specific place that is really where the magic happens. This is the heart of it. This is like the main message, I should say. And this is the moral of your story. When you map out your hero's journey, when you map out that story, there's a moral to the story. There's a point to it. There's a conclusion. There's a takeaway. And that moral of the story is the exact thing that you're going to be sharing over and over and over again. And that's what people are going to remember you by, that piece of your story. I know that person because they shared this and this is what they're all about. Or I totally get that person. I'm going to buy from that person because they get it. I want to experience that moral of the story for myself. And that's what people are going to say. So if you're available, join me on Tuesday, May 24th. Now you can also join virtually, so know that that is an option. However, I'm only going to be providing hands-on assistance, meaning one-to-one feedback to the people in the actual classroom. So just keep that in mind if you're not local. Virtual is totally an option. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Until next time, be well and take care.